Miss Meele!
If there's something strange in the neighborhood, who you gonna call? Dick Gumshoe!
So, how was the initial investigation going?
We just shipped the body off to the coroner's office. And we're taking statements now, sir.
That sounds like Franziska. She was always good at quick responses to a case.
I'd say she was, a little too quick, sir.
Oh? How so?
Well, how do I put this? I rushed on over as soon as I got word of the affair, sir. But somehow, when I got here, Miss Von Karma was already here barking out orders at everybody. It was kinda creepy, as though she knew there had been a murder or something, and had come in advance to await your flight's arrival.
That is sort of odd. She did show up rather quickly and out of the blue. Plus, I still don't know why she's here in America. There must be some backstory to all of this.
Miss Von Karma just kind of popped up at the prosecutor's office about a week ago, sir. I don't remember why. Something about chasing down leads related to a certain incident.
No details?
It's kinda top secret, so she can't talk about it, even with me, sir.
Knowing her, the only type of talking she likes to do is with her whip. Plus, I doubt the top secret part was what stopped her from talking to you, Detective. Although, I wonder if her case has anything to do with mine.
Anyway, that's about all the info I have, sir. We should find out more as we investigate.
Yes, it is high time to resume my investigation, starting with talking to the people involved in this case afresh. Gumshoe and Edgeworth, together again.
Always exciting, Mr. Edgeworth. It's like we're Batman and Robin, except we're detectives.
So, you must be the captain.
Why, yes I am. And who might you be?
I'm the prodigy prosecutor, Franziska von Karma, and I have a few questions for you.
Don't you dare, Captain! Getting friendly with another woman. I'll never forgive you if you do. Filthy cheating scumbag.
What are you talking about? I only have eyes for you, my dear Cammie.
I wouldn't bet my money on our dear captain to be much of a reputable person.
Sure you don't want to ask the captain some questions, sir?
He was in the cockpit the entire time. I highly doubt he would know anything of use. Anyway, I'd like to leave that type of witness to Franziska and her whip. Don't worry, Gumshoe. He'll be in capable hands.
Yeah!
Very capable hands.
Now see here! Ah, shit, who's yelling at me now? Whatever it is, I don't even know what I did! I'm sorry!
How long do you intend to hold me? It is impossible for me to be the criminal. I told you!
Mr. Lablanc.
Oh, it is you. Tell this man to stop stopping me from going! Time is money! I don't have even 1 second of wasteful time to spend!
Then why do you waste so much of it shouting? Did you finish taking his statement yet?
Yep, all done, sir.
I do not concern if you're not done examining the cargo hold. I want my cargo back! If you make a single scratch on my art, you will pay.
Art? What sort of art?
Mr. LeBlanc over here is an art dealer, so he's got a bunch of artwork down in the cargo hold, sir. There's practically a mountain of different kinds. Big and tall, short and small, you name it.
From folk costumes to stone statues, I sell all kinds of arts.
Folk costumes? Speaking of which, Mr. LeBlanc's hat. It kind of looks like that other piece of cloth. Let's hope he can calm down long enough to shed some light on it. Mr. LeBlanc, can you please take a look at this for me?
Oh, it's a Borginian cloth.
As I suspected. Your hat is made of the same material, I suppose.
Yes, of course. This fabric is so famous. Orders come from over the seas for more.
Then this is the cargo you were talking about earlier?
No. My cargo this time is much, many gigantic. You, detective, when can I have my cargo moved?
You can get your cargo back when we're done investigating, pal.
The stubbornness of you police, it is no good. And it is no good that attendant refuses to exit the attendance room too.
That attendant? I wonder if he's talking about Miss Teneiro. Why does he want to get in there so badly anyway? What did you mean by that attendant, Mr. Lablanc?
She was taken into the attendance room for her interview, and then they still have not come out. They make no sign of coming out either. I was finished with my own interview much earlier, quicker than her.
Why is Miss Teneiro's interview the only one that's taking up so much time?
Miles Edgeworth, you were given free reins to examine the plane, weren't you?
Yes, I was able to obtain the cooperation of the flight attendants. Speaking of attendants, I'd like to speak with Miss Teneiro. I wonder if you might grant me permission to enter the flight attendant's room?
Before I do, you still have to clear up a few issues surrounding your own circumstances.
I understand.
You may have tricked those attendants with your sophisticated talking, but you can't pull the wool over my eyes, Miles Edgeworth. Let's not complicate things and go to the most obvious conclusion. The scene of the crime was here, in the very lounge the body was discovered. From the time the victim was seen calling for an attendant until his body was found. The only person in the lounge the entire time was you, Miles Edgeworth. This unmistakably makes you the likeliest suspect.
The likeliest suspect, Franziska?
Do you have a problem with that?
No, but it's not like you to use such vague wording. You're usually a bit more absolute.
I'm simply trying to watch out for you. Or is my kindness too hard for you to comprehend?
Thank you, but your leniency is unnecessary, for I will prove my innocence soon enough. If I want to continue my investigation, I'll have to break her line of logic fast. Though, I must say, I am looking forward to finally having a challenge. I'm perfectly aware that there is no way the murder took place in this lounge, but do I have any evidence that can break through her ironclad logic? Not quite yet.
Hold it!
While it's true that I was in the lounge the whole time, that fact alone does not make me the criminal.
Objection! We'll see about that at the conclusion of the investigation. However, there is one thing that even you must admit at this time.
All that did was give her a chance to gloat. Under the circumstances, I suppose I can agree that I'm the most likely suspect.
But I believe in you, sir. I don't think you did it. Miss Von Karma's gotta believe that too, right? I mean, you guys are like siblings. Ow! Right on the nipple!
Who else, Scruffy? Even if we were related by blood, that is no guarantee that he is not a criminal.
Franziska, please don't accost my subordinate.
I demand to see some proof that you are not the guilty party.
The likely suspect, huh? What a roundabout euphemism. But it would appear that she doesn't yet know about the new evidence that we acquired and where we acquired it. I'll take care of the gaps in her logic one hole at a time. The only question is which of these statements contradicts my new evidence, which I'm actually not too certain about right now. This feels as though it's going to be a bit like throwing darts at a dartboard and hoping for the best. Well, here goes my first shot. Objection! And that was a miss. It's obviously this one. How do you like this? Objection! You don't like that at all, do you? I think maybe this? Objection! Alright, I'm definitely missing some testimony. Hold it! So tell me, Franziska, do you know all there is to know about the crime scene?
I know all that I need to know in order to arrest you.
And nothing more?
Are you saying there is more I need to know?
What's made for, sir?
Sorry, Scruffy. My hand must have slipped.
It would appear that Franziska doesn't have all the facts of this case yet. Although that does not exactly help me pin down which of her statements contains the contradiction. Hold it! What do you mean by seen?
Please stop pretending like you don't know. It's insulting. Obviously, I'm talking about how Mr. Hicks was seen calling for an attendant at 5 a.m. And then, from the time after that call until the body was found...
There's something I'm missing. Something important. And once I figure out what it is, I'm sure I'm going to feel like an idiot. Hold it! Don't you think you're being a bit rash by simply declaring me the culprit?
I like my affairs to be simple and perfect. I'll show you the meaning of both when I finish this whole thing within 3 minutes.
Jeez, you make it sound like you're talking about my sex life. No!
I won't allow even 3 seconds of useless testimony to be uttered in my presence.
I see she hasn't changed a bit. But I won't allow her to send me to prison so easily. Though I'm not exactly doing a particularly good job of that right now. Actually, the cloth only shows that there was blood. I know a piece of evidence that shows where the blood came from, and that it was definitely not this lounge. Objection! It would appear that you did not have all the information you needed after all.
And what does that mean?
I found a nice piece of evidence just before I was forced to stop investigating. A piece that proves that the body was moved from a different location. The killer used this suitcase to move the victim's body, meaning that the real scene of the crime is not this lounge at all.
Objection! Now who's the one rashly jumping into conclusions?
Excuse me?
All you did was find this piece of cloth inside the suitcase. That doesn't prove that the body was moved. It could have been the killer simply chose the suitcase as a good place to hide the cloth.
I expected you would come to that conclusion. It would seem I can't escape that easily.
You should have known better than that. Von Karma is perfect in every way.
Ah, but did you know that the killer definitely wheeled the suitcase around at some point?
Objection! As if there is proof of that.
Where is the proof that this suitcase was moved around? My first instincts tell me that it's the suitcase and the fact that its rubber stoppers were not in place. That does feel just the slightest bit too easy. Ah, what the hell. I have a full life bar anyway. Take that! Alright, that was obviously wrong, but I think I know what the right piece of evidence is. Take that!
The spilled grape juice in front of the elevator?
Yes, and I'd like to draw your attention to this area here. Where is the evidence that proves the killer dragged the suitcase through here? Take that! This mark here, wouldn't you say that it looks suspiciously like tracks from 2 wheels?
I suppose.
Further, there is also grape juice residue on the wheels of the suitcase. This means that the suitcase containing the victim's body definitely passed through here.
I suppose this means that the killer did move the victim's body from somewhere else.
I'm glad you've come to your senses.
Objection! Not so fast. This still doesn't put you in the clear, not by a long shot. You prepared yourself and acquired the piggy bank before the plane hits that turbulence. And then you waited for the victim in the lounge where you beat him to death. Then, while you were in the elevator with the victim's body stuffed into the suitcase, the plane hit that patch of turbulence and out flew the body from within the suitcase. With no way out, you hastily put the suitcase back where you had taken it from and pretended to be the discoverer of the body.
Not a bad bit of logic for something you thought of on the fly. No matter how strong the face you put on, not even you can hide your fears from me. I'll expose the flaws in her logic in one fell swoop. And thankfully, it's going to be far easier this time, especially with the contradiction so blatantly staring at us from the first statement. You say that I acquired the piggy bank before the turbulence. I say that's quite impossible. Your perfect logic is about to come crumbling down around your head. Objection! The fact that you took this piece of evidence into account in your testimony is to be commended. Your legal prowess is certainly something to be feared.
Evidence and logic, essential tools that those who would stand in the courtroom must learn to master.
But what if there was a fake piece of evidence thrown into the mix?
A fake?
This Mr. I-Fly piggy bank is just such a fake. It is not the real murder weapon.
What?
The timing of when the bank was taken from the shop is important. And it was taken after the turbulence had occurred.
But then, what about the blood on the bank? What do you make of that?
I assume it was added after the murder when the killer fabricated this weapon. Looking at it this way, the killer basically did 3 things after the turbulence. After exiting the elevator, the killer brought the suitcase to the shop and left it there. Then, the killer proceeded to pick the bank up from off the floor and took it to fabricate a fake murder weapon by hitting the victim on the head. Finally, the victim's wallet was planted on my personage, in my pocket to be precise. Everything was done so that I would be framed for the murder of Mr. Akbe Hicks.
You there!
Yes, ma'am.
Other than this piggy bank, was anything else resembling a murder weapon found?
We didn't find anything in this lounge or in the shop that could be used as one, ma'am. Most of the items that could have been used were broken during the turbulence. And the remaining items all tested negative for any trace of blood.
I see. Well, Miles Edgeworth, it appears your stall tactics are at an end.
But isn't it possible that it's just hidden somewhere, sir? It seems to me like a logical...
If the criminal had wanted to hide a weapon in a safer place, I'd think the weapon would have been hidden in the same place as the bloody cloth.
Exactly what I was thinking. Because the cloth was hidden inside that suitcase, it signals to me that the killer had not prepared a more secure place to hide the evidence. Which means that the real murder weapon is either still on the murderer's personage, or is still at the real crime scene.
Objection! There is one more possibility.
And that would be?
That the piggy bank is, in fact, the real murder weapon.
But didn't we just...
Let me finish. The killer took the piggy bank out of the display case before the turbulence by opening the lock on the display case door. And it was at that time that the glass pane in the door was broken. I'd say that's a perfectly reasonable line of reasoning, wouldn't you? Let's see. So that means the killer has a key to the display case.
Franziska, the person you're talking about...
Not so fast. I'm not finished. The person I'm talking about also committed another sin. She tricks the captain and granted you permission to conduct your investigation. Yes, it is a sin of lying. Speaking of which, I recall that you also wish to speak with her.
Yes.
Very well. Permission granted, but only if I can sit in on your investigation. Do we understand each other?
I have no intention of interrogating her, but you are welcome to accompany me if you so wish.
Miss Teneiro is in the flight attendant's room. Let's move. So you're the ones that poked around inside this plane without the captain's permission. Deviating from the flight attendant's manual is very unbecoming, you know. What were you hoping to accomplish by doing that?
Miss Teneiro.
Mr. Edgeworth, you're here too?
Can you please help us and shed some light on why you did what you did?
All right.
All right. I'm trusting you, Miss Teneiro. Why did you lie about receiving the captain's permission like that?
Because I didn't think I would be able to get his permission.
What do you mean?
The captain. He only has ears for Cammie.
I spoke with the captain a little earlier myself. He definitely seems to be rather taken with Miss Meele.
Yes. And on top of that, I had mistakenly accused Mr. Edgeworth of being the killer. I wanted to make amends.
In that case, please allow me to thank you for what you did. Thanks to you, I was able to clear myself of all charges.
Really? You were able to prove your innocence? Oh, thank goodness.
Miss Teneiro, is it? There is one more thing I'd like to ask you. You were in the in-flight shop just before the turbulence, weren't you? Please answer honestly.
Yes, I was.
And why were you in there?
Well,
Why the sudden hesitation? Franziska seems to have struck a nerve.
All I did was go check up on the shop like I always do.
You're saying it was for work, then?
Yes. I'm in charge of the shop, so I have to keep an eye on it. I don't have any reason to go there otherwise.
After you visit the shop, you paid a visit to this room, correct?
Yes, I came back to freshen up and adjust my makeup. I'm sorry, but there isn't much else to tell.
Miss Teneiro claims to have no reason other than duty to go to the shop. But is that all there is to it? Maybe I should ask her about that thing. If you could please take a look at this for me, Miss Teneiro.
That suitcase!
Yes, about this suitcase. You are the one who designed it, correct? And I think I figured something else out about it. This suitcase is the reason you went to the shop, isn't it?
There's nothing you won't find out eventually, is there?
Won't you please tell me more about this suitcase?
Yes, I was interested in seeing how the suitcases I had designed were selling. I know that as a service professional, I'm not supposed to care, but I really wanted to know. And I was glad to see that it was the last one there.
The last one there? It certainly wasn't when I was there. So you're saying, Miss Teneiro, that the suitcase in question was the last one?
Yes. They're just so popular, they're practically flying off the shelves.
That's not exactly the impression I got.
The one in the shop is most definitely the last one.
Well, we're currently looking at that suitcase.
Really? Then I guess we sold all of them. Thank you very much for taking the last one.
I didn't say anything about buying it.
Then say you'll buy it.
I'm sorry, I can't.
But why? I think it'll go great with your complexion, Mr. Edgeworth. It really suits you. I guarantee it personally as a service professional.
Well, that is... how should I put this? It's hideous.
What?
Huh. Maybe that was a bit too direct. Moving on. My issue with the suitcases isn't the design, it's the number of them remaining.
Remaining?
There were 2 suitcases in the in-flight shop when I investigated it.
2? But that's impossible. I'm sure there was only one.
It looks like her story has generated quite the contradiction.
When I left the shop, I'm positive there was only one suitcase left.
Something is amiss here. What could be the meaning of this inconsistency? By the way, Miss Teneiro, what is one of those suitcases doing here?
That's...
I thought you said there was only one left.
That one is, it's mine. I've used it for a very long time now.
She's used it for a long time. I think not. Miss Teneiro, I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't lie to me.
Excuse me?
I don't believe for even 1 second that you've used this for a very long time. What proves that this hasn't been used for nearly as long as Miss Teneiro says? Obviously the price tag. Take that! Tell me, Miss Teneiro, is it also your habit to keep the price tag pristine on your suitcase?
What is the meaning of this? Why would you lie about the suitcase?
Despite having faith in her design sense, the sales numbers made her cry bitter tears. The truth is becoming increasingly clear to me. Miss Teneiro, I think I understand. I know what you are trying to hide. Now then, this suitcase was originally in the in-flight shop. Seeing as how the price tag is still on the suitcase, one can only assume it was out on the floor for sale in the shop. And the person who bought this suitcase was... You poor thing. Take that! It was you, wasn't it, Miss Teneiro? I hate to say this, but this suitcase that you designed, it hasn't sold very well, has it? You saw how poorly this design that you poured your heart into was selling, and were deeply hurt. That's why you wanted to make it look like it was selling by buying it yourself. Isn't that right?
Then, the reason you went to the shop and came back here was...
I'm sorry! All I really have is my job. I was overjoyed when my design was chosen. I thought that maybe I had finally accomplished something.
But the suitcases didn't sell.
It's because of the design, isn't it? All because it's, as you put it, hideous.
I can't say they chose a great place in which to sell them either.
We weren't selling a single one, and they were just sitting there collecting dust. I felt so bad seeing them there, day in and day out. So I decided to buy one for every flight I worked.
You buy one every single time you work a flight?
I see. So in order to keep your resolution, you went and bought one today as well.
Yes. And here's my receipt for that purchase.
This receipt is clearly time-stamped 5:40 a.m.
The truth is, there's still a bunch of them left unsold. We're planning to scrap the remaining ones at the end of this flight.
Miss Teneiro, where are these other suitcases?
They should all be down in the cargo hold.
Then the suitcase the killer used.
Could very well have come from the cargo hold.
Mr. Edgeworth, you don't think that the killer used one of my suitcases
Yes, I do. The killer used one of your beloved suitcases to move the victim's body.
How could they? Those suitcases were meant to be faithful partners to our passengers on their trips. That's all I ever wished for them to be.
Miss Teneiro, is there any other way to get to the cargo hold other than the elevator?
The only other way is just through that door there.
And what about security?
That door has no special lock installed because just to enter this room, you need a special key card that only crew members have access to.
Which means that the culprit is someone who can enter this room, eliminating the passengers and leaving only crew members as potential suspects.
I can't believe it.
Hold it!
Yes, Franziska?
Going on these wild goose chases, you're a disgrace to the Von Karma name.
And what do you mean by that?
The suitcase came from the cargo hold. The fact alone tells us the whole story.
Yes, which is why I said the culprit must be a crew member who used their keycard.
Miles Edgeworth! You're proposing that the killer holds the elevator from the cargo hold, correct?
Yes, that's the only realistic possibility.
That the other attendant, Miss Meele, I asked her earlier and she had this to say.
Franziska got information out of Miss Meele?
In order to make the elevator go down to the cargo hold, a different keycard is required.
A different one?
Yes, and the only person who has that particular card is you, Miss Rhoda Teneiro, and only you.
Objection! Objection! Hold it! Hold it! Eureka! Take that! Take that! Next time!
You came to this airport to rendezvous with the victim, didn't you?
But it looks like they got to him first.
I'm sure he was here to investigate the smuggling operation he was observing.
What is it, Detective?
They're still doing the autopsy, but the doc said that it's one giant bruise from a beating on his shoulder down to his mid-back.
You have left me no choice but to use strong force! Gah!
This is... Wait, that's it! So that's what this whole thing has been about!
Let's start project.